And just like that, one of the greatest Celtic players headed for the exit door. The news confirmed in the last hour that we had expected that Scott Brown will join Aberdeen at the end of the season. He signed a pre-contract with them to become a player/coach for the next 2 seasons. That's why we've arranged this hastily arranged video on 67 Hail Hail. We're always there for the big stories when they happen. We'll go in depth on what this story could mean for Celtic, what it could mean for Scott Brown, what it could mean for people like Callum McGregor as well. But first, David, just give us your overall thoughts. What's the main emotion right now?
I guess a bit of sadness, really, that it's all come to an end. And I've actually been one of the supporters advocating that we needed a change in the midfield, that Brown's time had maybe come to an end as a regular in this Celtic team. Personally, I was one who believed that if Brown was looking for consistent first-team football next season, he had to leave Celtic. But now that it's happened, it's so sad. It's a shame. It's a shame it's ended without 10 in a row being secured, I would say. But history will remember Scott Brown incredibly well at Celtic. He won't be defined by what happened this season. For fans like myself, I mean, I think I was around 10 or 11 when Scott Brown signed for Celtic. I've not really known, as a mature Celtic fan, anything other than Brown being in the midfield. So really grateful to everything he brought to the football club. He's an incredible footballer, incredible character. I think that gets overlooked a wee bit at times. The character Brown showed throughout his Celtic career. It's not been all, Premiership titles and Scottish Cups. He's had a bit of roller coaster time in stages. So I think it's sad. It's sad to see that it's happened, but I think it's an incredible opportunity for him. I think there's a good opportunity for him to fast track his way into coaching there, and at a very good level, becoming Aberdeen's assistant manager. That's a great chance for him, and clearly one that he felt he couldn't pass up.
Yeah, I think when something like this happens, it registers so much with each individual Celtic fan, because it takes you back to what life was like before them, and it reminds you of all the things that you've done while Scott Brown has been captain of Celtic. And let's face it, it's been a long time. It's been 14 years. He's won 22 trophies in that time, 10 league titles, 6 Scottish Cups and 6 League Cups as well. He's also had numerous caps for Scotland. I noticed Aberdeen described him as former Scotland captain rather than Celtic legend or anything like that, which I thought was interesting. I'm going to be asking you all and David for your favourite Scott Brown moments at the end of the video, so I'll give you a wee bit of time, David, and everyone else, to have a wee think. Don't put them in the chat just yet, because I won't manage to see them until later on. I'll ask for them at the end of the video. But yeah, I just want to talk first of all about the fact that he's leaving at a pretty bad time. Not just in terms of the way this season's gone, but also the fact there's no fans at Celtic Park. He's not going to get the send-off that I think we all hoped he would. It kind of leaves a bit of I don't want to say a bitter taste, but it kind of leaves you feeling a bit unfulfilled with the way things have ended for him at the club. Would you agree with that?
Aye, I would. I really would. I think we all wanted 10 in a row this season for a multitude of reasons, but one of them was that Scott Brown could get the send-off he deserved. There is still an opportunity in the Scottish Cup to give him a winning send-off, but I agree with you, Hamish. It's a wee bit of unfulfillment there at the fact we haven't been able to win the league this season, but I'm sure that's just the rawness of the campaign speaking. I think when we look back on Brown in a year's time, 2 years' time, any time in the future, really, he'll be remembered for what he was, an absolute Celtic legend. And it's going to be so strange now coming up against him with Aberdeen. It's easy to forget he's going there as a player.
It's going to be strange seeing him wearing another team's colours. I mean, I know he was at Hibs before he came to us, and I know he's played for Scotland, but I can't imagine him in an Aberdeen top.
We'll be calling for him to get sent off. I know, it'll be crazy. It's surreal to think, because like going back to what I said at the start, I've not really known a Celtic midfield growing up throughout my teenage years that's not had Scott Brown in it. The fact he's going to maybe I'm flattering Aberdeen by saying a direct rival, but the fact he's going to another club in Scotland and we'll face him so regularly over the next 2 years, it's quite intriguing, really. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how that pans out. But I think it's the best move for everyone, Hamish, when you look at how the season's gone. Yeah, Brown could have stayed another year, signed that 1 year contract. I wouldn't have been too keen on him playing every week myself, and I think he still has a hunger to do that. So it allows us to move past Brown now and try and find someone who can operate in that midfield for the next 5-6 years' time.
It's clearly disappointing, as you say, that Scott Brown isn't going to go out as a winner, certainly a league winner. We'll wait and see what happens with the Scottish Cup. It's disappointing. It's not the perfect end, but as I commented in my video earlier in the week, football isn't a Hollywood film. It doesn't always have that perfect ending that everyone wanted. And let's face it here, the Daily Record report, I think from a couple of days ago, they were the ones that broke the news about Brown going to Aberdeen, and they included the detail that Celtic had apparently offered Brown a 1 year extension. So from that we take it that Brown would rather be in Aberdeen than Celtic, and reading into that, he's obviously the opportunity to get into coaching has been really important in his move. But also a thing I wanted to say was, I don't think people should worry about Scott Brown not getting the perfect ending. It clearly, the idea of the perfect ending clearly didn't matter that much to Scott Brown, or he would have taken that 1 year contract next season and he would have tried to go out on top. So I don't think anyone should really worry about that. I don't think it's tainted his legacy at all this season. I think winning the league would have enhanced it. There's no doubt, and if he'd have won 10 in a row, he would have been an even greater figure. But he still is. For me, I said in the video, for me, he's probably our second greatest captain, after obviously Billy McNeil. I don't know if I'm well placed to say that because I've not supported Celtic for a long time. But what I will say is, 21st century wise, I think probably only Henrik Larsson's ahead of him in terms of impact at the club and level of fame around the Celtic support. I thought maybe Neil Lennon was around, same ranking as Brown, but to be honest, I think Brown's second only to Larsson. Would you agree, disagree? Do you have any other names you want to chuck into the hat?
In terms of his impact on the club?
Overall, if you were to make a list of greatest Celtic players of the 21st century, Larsson would obviously be top.
We've got a lot from the Seville team, haven't you? But I mean, you're looking at Brown in terms of longevity, in terms of everything he's been through on and off the pitch. You forget how many managerial regimes Scott Brown's been here for. It's so easy to take what he's done at Celtic for granted. I think we've all at some stage fell into that trap at times. I know I certainly have. I was one of the ones that thought he was close to being finished under Ronnie Dyler. So, no, I think when you're talking about sheer impact on the club, he is right up there, probably just behind Larsson for me, Hamish. I think that's yeah, I think so. I mean, you're talking about a character who's been the face of the club for maybe at least the last decade. He's always been the one that's out there trying to deal with the media, deal with the pressure throughout the good and the bad times. Nothing but incredible respect for Scott Brown and what he's done for the football club. It will just be interesting now to see who steps into his shoes. Looks likely to be Callum McGregor, I would imagine. But in terms of Brown, he clearly has no issues with how he's ending his time at Celtic. You're spot on to bring that up. I think for supporters like me and you, there was this idea of the dream ending, getting the 10, riding off into the sunset. But he's a winner regardless, and he, if he wanted to ensure that he left with a league title under his belt immediately before he departed, he would have stayed on another year. So if it doesn't mean all that much to him, then it shouldn't to us.
I saw a thing on Twitter the other day, and it basically said that if Scott Brown was a football club, he would still have won more trophies than Man City, Juventus, Barcelona, Real Madrid. And I know he plays in Scotland, but that just sums up how much of an impact Scott Brown has had on Scottish football. He's won 22 trophies in 14 years at a club, and I think if you were to compare that to any other team in Scotland, I don't think any other teams had like 3 or 4, and Scott Brown's had 22 like that. Yeah, that sums it up.
you see how much other clubs in Scotland, when they win a competition, how much praise they want for one win. You know, I mean, Scott Brown's had an incredible amount of success at Celtic, so much so that the one success just seems to blend into the last one. It's incredible. I don't think it'll be repeated in terms of the impact he's left on us. Not for a long time anyway. He bucks the trend for the modern day footballer, I would say. He's not a player who went looking first chance he could to go to England. It's never got him going, the idea of leaving Celtic. And I don't think you'll find too many players with that kind of mentality and that kind of commitment to the club anymore.
Right, Plexiplox has been getting in touch using our Super Chat feature. I would urge you all to do that if you want to raise a point or whatever. Saying, Celtic supporter since 2008, never known a time without Brown, absolute legend, class act. Just want to touch quickly on the Callum McGregor issue, if you want to call it that. How do you feel about McGregor as a replacement for Brown?
I think he's done
as captain.
Listen, I think he's done a fantastic job this season in terms of facing up to the media and the pressure that's come with being in the team in Brown's absence at times. I think he's whilst his performances have maybe been inconsistent at times, you know, I know not everyone's been too pleased with how he's performed on the pitch. I think in terms of off of it, I think he has been a real leader at times. Hasn't been afraid to tell fans like it is. It's never shirked any responsibility that's been put towards him. He's a different sort of character to Brown, I think, and I think that comes across in the way he does his interviews, the way he comes across to supporters, and the way he plays in general. But I do think he's a leader. I think he enjoys being a leader as well, and I would love to see him given the opportunity to take the armband. And I think it's his anyway, because if you're looking at other candidates in the team, I mean, Chris Ayer, he's probably going to go in the summer. And I can't really think
after that, aren't you?
That's it. You can't even think of anyone who would deserve it. So give it to Callum. He's done a great job standing in for Brown as captain this season, and I think he'll be a real success.
Right, final thing I wanted to bring up. Is he a future Celtic manager, David? If things go well for him at Aberdeen, he maybe does well as a coach, he maybe gets the Aberdeen job at some stage or maybe another team and then comes back to Celtic as manager. Is that a potential scenario you could see?
There'll be less obstacles in Brown's path to becoming Celtic manager than there would be in many others. I think that if he proves himself to be a success, and this is still a big if, you know, it's a totally different job he's going into. He has to show different traits. He has to show that he has good man management. He has to show that he can build his own philosophy on the pitch and build a team. If he's going to be a Celtic manager one day, it's a massive step for him to move into. But if things do go well for him, if he does prove himself to be a success at Aberdeen as assistant manager, and then hopefully becomes a number one elsewhere someday, the path to being Celtic man, to being the Celtic manager won't be as difficult for him as it would others. I think that as soon as Scott Brown does one good job somewhere, he'll be linked, and you'll have fans who'll back it as well. I think previous years, when you look before Brown developed that mature head, you would have laughed at the prospect of him becoming a football manager. But when you sit down and you actually listen to him now, and you listen to him in press conferences, you listen to how he talks about the game, he's a lot more intelligent than people give him credit for, and I think he's going to surprise a few people in coaching. I really hope he does, considering what he's done for the football club. And I think he'll be back here in some capacity at some stage, whether it be a manager, whether it be a first team coach. But I think for now he's taken the right step, and a very sensible one.
Right, it's time for your favourite Scott Brown moments. I'm going to say go, and then you can batter away that keyboard at home and you can let us know what you think. Try and steer away from the obvious and maybe go for one that maybe wouldn't immediately spring to mind but means something personally to you. After saying all that, I've got a couple. The goal at Rugby Park, the Scott Brown won the league at Rugby Park. What a day that was. What a day that was. The fact it came so late against a stuffy Kilmarnock side, the fact it was deflected in, the fact Scott Brown ran into the stand, and those jubilant celebrations. I was actually impressed at Rugby Park that day, so I got a perfect view of the two stands, the Chadwick and the Moffat, I think it is, going absolutely nuts. Another one I've got, a slightly kind of less obvious one. Derby at Ibrox, December 2016, the one we came back, at least I think it was that one, near the end of the match after another sublime display from Scott Brown. He chases down a ball at the byline and doesn't quite make it or clears it away, and anyway ends off the pitch, slides off the pitch onto one of the hoardings, stands up on the hoardings in front of thousands of Rangers fans and just holds and just stands up in the hoarding for what seemed, it was probably only 2 or 3 seconds, but it seemed about 30 seconds. They are just shouting abuse at him and he's just standing there going like that, knowing he's the king. And it was just so symbolic for me because that was Scott Brown all over. He was the king virtually all his time at Celtic. He virtually always was the guy who was on top. And I loved that one. Another one that just came into my mind, it may even have been the same game. In fact, I think it was. It was early in that game when Rangers took the lead. Kenny Miller scored early on. They were all over us. And I remember maybe about 20, 25 minutes in, he crunches through someone.
That's right.
I can't remember who it was, but he crunches through someone. And at that moment, he took a booking for it, and at that moment our performance turned from terrible performance to on it, and we won that game. And it was all, well, it wasn't all, but it was a lot of it for me was down to that challenge and getting a reaction saying let's get stuck in. And that for me, sacrificing yourself to get a booking so that Celtic improve the performance, was Brown all over.
Yeah, I mean, it's try to avoid the obvious ones. He's certainly he was never a player known for his goal scoring. I remember a great moment at Tynecastle. I think it was back in around 2013. It was nothing each at the time. Neil Lennon was the manager, and for some reason this stands out. I just loved this moment. Ball came into our penalty area. There was a bit of a scramash, and it looked like it had crossed our line, and it had been cleared. And the Hearts fans were going nuts. They were certain the ball had crossed the line. We had about 5 seconds. Whilst the Hearts fans were still fuming, maybe 5 seconds a stretch, about 10 seconds. Brown had put the ball in at the other end, and I think he did the Bruni into the Hearts fans who were still peeling at this goal not being given down the other end. It put us 1-0 up. I think we won 4-0 on the night. It was a nighttime game as well, so you know the passion grows a bit in nighttime games. He banged one up the other end and he got it stuck right into them. It was a glorious watch. Of course, you have moments such as the game after the game in March. Was it the game in March 2019? We were 1-2-1, and in the post-match celebrations, they seem to spark a riot just by celebrating in the wrong area. I think Brown knew what he was doing in that game, but it was absolutely brilliant. It had the Rangers players and the fans absolutely beeling. They couldn't take him celebrating a win against them. And again, that was just Brown. He was a winner, and he lets you know he's a winner. It's fantastic for the Celtic support to see these kind of moments. I'm sure for the opposition, it absolutely winds them up. You were talking about that moment at Ibrox where he crunches whoever it is. I don't know who it was. And he's taking the booking. He's letting his teammates know he's taking a booking as well. I think he done similar last season at Ibrox in that 2-0 win. I think where he goes for a ball, crunches. I don't think he crunched the Rangers player as such. I think he gets the ball, but it'd been a sort of sloppy start, pretty eachy peachy. He goes in for a ball, goes out for a shy, and he's going nuts after making this tackle. He was so happy with it. It doesn't look pretty innocuous, just a challenge down at the touchline. But Brown was really enjoying it, and I think when you see that kind of passion show through from Brown as a player, I'm sure they all get something from it. He knew how to click the right buttons. So in terms of moments, I think it's some of the underrated ones that come to your mind at times with Brown.
Yeah, and we've got a few of them in. Someone there was mentioned the strut at Aberdeen.
Oh God,
Maybe go.
aye, that's right. Where
Aye.
they tried to kick the ball off him, didn't they? And
At Aberdeen as well.
aye, that's right. Oh, listen, the Aberdeen fans are just like many other fans in Scottish football. They don't like Brown because he's a winner. I'm sure they'll absolutely adore him once he goes up there and starts playing for them. Remember, actually, one more. Do you remember him absolutely ending Graham Dorrans in the first Old Firm derby? Remember that, or Glasgow derby? Sorry. Do you remember him absolutely ending Dorrans with that drag back and through ball
Oh
at
my
Ibrox in
God.
2017? Oh my God, that was exquisite, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was a small passage of play, but it was absolutely beautiful. It was beautiful to watch because I remember in the pre-match build-up, the Rangers fans were all going on about how good Dorrans is and how
But
Graham
we
Dorrans
had
was
that
coming.
season
He
after
did.
season for
It was
them.
Barton.
We had
Barton.
Docherty, Barton. We had all these
Aye.
players, and Brown was always boss. And to be honest, it's not been until he's reached 35, 36 before he struggled a bit. And to be honest, I kind of wish he maybe had done this a year earlier because we'd have had even happier memories. But Scott Brown is a player. Any kind of rival fan who tries to tell you that Scott Brown wasn't a good player,
Aye.
it's just sour grapes. It's just sour grapes. He's excellent.
He's made out to be a hard tackler. He's so much more than that. His actual football, his technical ability, so underrated at times. Saying that moment with Dorrans, that's not the only one in a big game or even in Europe that he showed tremendous footwork. He's a real good footballer, Brown. And some of the comments I'm seeing coming in, some other great moments. His goal against Hamilton, that was absolutely brilliant. That one, and taking Lustig up to lift the trophy on his last cup final, that was brilliant too. There's probably absolutely plenty of moments with Brown that just aren't coming to your head right now. But he's had 14 years worth of tremendous memories at Celtic, and we will miss him to an extent when he leaves. I think the leadership mainly will be difficult to replace. I've got big hopes for Callum McGregor. He's been at Celtic all his career. He absolutely sleeps and breathes the club. I think he's 100% the right man to take it.
I just think it's the right time for Scott Brown to move on. I think with so much changing at the club, we're going to have a new manager, we're going to have a new chief executive, we're going to be going into a new season after such a disastrous campaign. I just think this is the right time. Probably would have been maybe ideal to have him round next season, but I just wonder if having him around may have held us back because he would have been seen to want to play in the big games, and it may have been seen as a bit of a distraction away from players like Sorrow, who are maybe more deserving nowadays.
I mean, you have two aspects. You have first off, you have this idea that he perhaps wants to play every week, and fair play to him for that. We can't offer him that next season, I don't believe, not with players like Sorrow there, and some of the other younger guys as well who are trying to break through. Luke O'Connell, Scott Robertson. You have a lot of midfielders down there who are looking to try and make an impact. And you also have this fast track into coaching. Now, Brown, undoubtedly, if he retired at Celtic, would have got a job somewhere. Might not have been the first team setup, though. It could have been with the development squad, and that's a massive difference. He's gone in as Aberdeen's assistant manager, totally different job to taking the under-20s or the under-18s or whatever. It's a job with a lot more responsibility, I would say. So I think those two things have probably made up his decision for him. But it's not as if it's a bad thing for Celtic. We can move on and hopefully see more of Sorrow next season, who I'm really excited by.
Yes, right. I think we'll leave it there. We've kind of gone through the memories quite well here. Most of you should probably get back to work because there's a good number of yous on, and it's only 4 o'clock. So I don't pretend to know your working hours, but if you're skiving, get back to work. If you're watching on demand later on, then fair play. Now, I'm kidding on. Thanks everyone for getting involved. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you've not done it yet. Maybe you've just come across us for the first time. I'll leave you with the quotes from a video that Celtic just put up on YouTube about half an hour ago after the news of Scott Brown's departure at the end of the season was confirmed. They posted a short video. It starts with quotes from Scott Brown saying, "Celtic don't want to lose, they want to win everything." And I would argue for one that Scott Brown did a pretty good job of that in his 14 years at the club. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care and hail hail.
Hail hail.